with a special edition of the OBX Wave Report where we go 100% coastal defense and we highlight the messages of climate scientists advocating for climate action. And we go through the social media messaging of climate scientists and talk about what the scientists are talking about. So I am going to start out with Dr. Michael Mann. And Dr. Michael Mann today is highlighting the climate distractions and the climate distractionists and the climate deniers. So throughout the climate wars, which Michael Mann highlighted in his fantastic book. Michael Mann has a lot of great books, and one of the books I want to read is Our Fragile Moment by Dr. Michael Mann. I'm really looking forward to this book, actually. Can't wait to read it. But in the climate wars, climate war is kind of like an information war between the fossil fuel industry and its advocates. And increasingly, the scientists who have been attacked by the fossil fuel industry for just telling the facts in much the same way that we saw medical experts attacked by those with a political agenda, particularly an anti-democracy political agenda during COVID. But what is happening right now is something that has been happening for a long time in the climate war, where we're getting a lot of climate change deniers who are putting out bad information and climate action distractionists, climate change deniers and climate action distractionists. And typically the distractions often come in the form of these weird kind of out there attempt at like some kind of silver bullet solution to climate change. That's really not a solution. The only solution to climate change is to stop burning fossil fuels. And this is what Dr. Mann is highlighting in his tweets today. So Professor Dr. Michael Mann argues that there is a far simpler solution: reduce or eliminate the reliance on fossil fuels. This being the solution, I want to talk about the solution first before we start to talk about the distraction. The distraction being this recent article highlighting a study from The Hill. I'm not going to click through the article, but The Hill published a article entitled "Dust from the Moon Could Help Slow Climate Change." This is another scheme to reflect light away from the Earth. Scientists typically have approached this subject with a note of high concern and caution because it can really wreck the energy balance of the Earth, can cause all sorts of unexpected and unintended harmful consequences potentially. And it doesn't address the base issue, which is the propagation and proliferation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere that trap the heat. It just masks sunlight coming to the earth, but does not deal with the root cause. And so Dr. Michael Mann again saying, hey, this is a distraction. We can stop our reliance on fossil fuels. We can mass deploy the clean energy, and we won't have to do freaky voodoo with the entire Earth's climate by reflecting sunlight away from the Earth, which is kind of like the Frankenstein approach, the Dr. Frankenstein approach to the climate crisis, basically. So that's my opinion. I think it's like a Dr. Frankenstein type thing. Dr. Michael Mann is advocating for the reduction or elimination of the reliance on fossil fuels. And then Dr. Michael Mann goes and reposts some of his warnings about Roger Pielke Jr. as a font of climate disinformation. And this quote from the late, great Stephen Schneider, who said, Roger Pelkey is a self-aggrandizer who sets up strawmen, knocks them down, and takes credit for being the honest broker to explain the mess. Um, I encourage you not to listen to the climate disinformers. And if the Republicans, particularly, are presenting Roger Pilkey as an expert on climate crisis, they're basically presenting an advocate for more fossil fuel burning and more climate harm. And I think that's all I'll say about Roger Pilkey. Here we go. Yeah, well, and I'll just go ahead and quote Dr. Michael Mann again. For those wondering why Roger Pilkey is the go-to witness for the Republicans at nearly every congressional hearing on climate change, uh, according to Michael Mann, he is a denialist with a veneer of academic credibility invaluable to the forces of climate inaction. And Michael Mann is quoting another climate scientist here, Peter Gleek, which we're going to get to later, who is stating that Roger Pielke's more recent statement, for example, from December the 5th, 2021 is climate denial at its worst. It simultaneously and incorrectly misrepresents the scientists while accusing the scientists of manipulation, reinventing history. This tactic is reprehensible and should be repudiated. And here is Roger Pielke talking about hurricanes and misinforming the public on the trends, according to Dr. Mann and Peter Glick. So I encourage you to listen to the scientists and the experts, not climate confusionists and climate deniers. Denial in the form of Roger Pelkey, and climate confusion in the form of pointing toward kind of these weird Frankenstein type quote unquote solutions to the climate crisis, this time moon dust, as opposed to actually doing just I mean, yeah, we can call it common sense thing and mass deploy clean energy. All right, I'm going to move on to Peter Gleek, who is an expert on climate science, and he is the co-founder of the Pacific Institute Water Climate 2018 Carl Sagan Award recipient. So another big heavyweight, big heavy hitter on the issue of climate change. Worth noting that Peter Gleek is out here promoting the defense of democracies by highlighting the bad action by Starlink in not providing as much support as it could to the Ukrainians as Putin attempts to continue his genocidal invasion of Ukraine. It is worth noting that the scientists are often on the side of democracy. The two seem to kind of go hand in glove. Facts and democracy, enlightenment do tend to go hand in glove. But what is Peter Gleek talking about? He's highlighting the Republican attack on scientific theory, on studying science in schools, and says the country is circling the drain and the GOP is doing the flushing. Pretty straightforward there. And then also getting down into moon dust. So Peter Gleek, again, on the issue of moon dust, so he says, so we could, just stop burning fossil fuels here, dust from the moon, and then talking about the dust from the moon study. So again, another climate scientist advocating for the cessation of fossil fuel burning and implying again that we need to transition to clean energy instead of pursuing these Frankenstein quote unquote solutions to climate change. All right, so let's get into another climate scientist tweet, this one from Catherine Hayhoe. Catherine Hayhoe is a climate scientist, a professor at Texas Tech, climate ambassadors, published quite a bit over there at Nature. She's a mom, science mom. Uh, Good folk, Catherine Hayhoe, major clean energy advocate. So as we confront the confusion surrounding moon dust and the possible Frankensteining of our sunlight coming in, um, by I don't know who is promoting this particular thing. It's probably some oligarch somewhere, but Catherine Hayhoe is out here promoting clean energy, and in this case, promoting a tweet by Nicole Kellner, who is making climate art, an artist in residence at MCJ Collective. She has produced these pretty cool pro clean energy Valentine's Day cards, which are freaking awesome if you ask me. So Nicole here is talking about her printable Valentine's Day cards to share with your climate friends, coworkers, and cuties. And so here's some of the printable Valentine's Day cards. Who knows? Maybe I'll send one to Kat. That would be kind of cool. But let's look at these things. These are pretty awesome. So one of them is a solar panel that says, "You are my sunshine." That's pretty cool. Here's another one, some wind turbines with hearts floating around them. "My love for you is infinite, just like the wind on the earth." Wind turbines also being a primary solution to the climate crisis, showing an invection stove. You want to see some Republicans light their hairs on a literal fire. Just talk to them about invection stove. In this particular case, I'm hot for you, with a nice invection stove here. Invection stoves being a part of the transition to electricity, which you can plug into the wind and the solars. All right. Another one that says, "I love you, like worms like compost." This kind of a sustainability kind of thing, composting. Another card here saying, "You warm my heart," showing some heat pump for a house. Heat pumps being a very efficient means of heating your house, and that you can connect to wind and solar as well because it's electric. And then last of all, speaking of it's electric, your energy is electric. Card showing your energy is electric. Again, promoting the batteries and the battery powered electric vehicles that you can then plug into wind and solar to help stop the fossil fuel burning that is hurting the climate and threatening our coastlines with more powerful storms and sea level rise. So, yay, Nicole. I just, did I follow you? Let me make sure I followed you. This was really cool. Yep, I'm following Nicole. I encourage you to follow Nicole and also listen to Catherine Hayhoe on the climates. She is an amazing climate communicator. And as we get into the end of our science advocacy for coastal defense, I do want to highlight this recent post by Bill McKibben since we are on a Valentine's Day theme. According to Bill McKibben, the best way to spend Valentine's Day, at least until dinner time, is to help him stop the money pipeline to fossil fuel burning. So we want to stop the money pipeline to fossil fuels and send it to clean energy solutions. And so Bill McKibben right out there on point promoting the Stop the Money pipeline. New York City friends, Chase has invested 382 billion, that's with a capital B, in an industry that's literally cooking the planet. Join Third Act at noon on Valentine's Day, the 14th. If you don't remember your sweeties, please remember your sweeties on the 14th. And please remember to help protect your sweeties by stopping the money pipeline to all the fossil fuel burning that's not good for the planet. And so they're working to deliver a passionate message to CEO Jamie Dimon about burning hearts and burning planets and flooding coastlines and sad surfers who no longer have their nice breaks and sad homeowners who get their houses devoured by giant waves from massive storms and sea level rise. So let's not have heartbreak for Valentine's Day. Let's have whole hearts and wholeheartedly promote our clean energy and shift away from throwing good money after bad and good money after heartbreak in this case. Stop the money pipeline. I encourage you to follow all the scientists that I have mentioned here, Michael Mann, Peter Gleek, Catherine Hayhoe, and all the others that whose posts I've highlighted here as we talk about what the climate scientists are talking about today on this Thursday, February the 9th. No to moon dust, yes to clean energy, no to fossil fuels. Let's not ask Frankenstein to build another monster. Let's just do the good thing and with a whole heart in the spirit of Valentine's Day. Thank you for joining me for this special Coastal Defense and Climate Science 101 edition of the OBX Wave Report, where in this case we fight all things climate distraction and climate denial, and this in support of our beautiful coastlines and all who live here and all who enjoy the wonderful climate and the waves and the beautiful coastline and who want to have a good life here. So thank you for joining me again, and I will be back with you shortly.